Hi, welcome. My name is McCluskey, and on this video I'm going to be discussing relational triggers, and what these are various interactions involving other dogs, situations, people, and where a dog is showing a high level of, say, aggression or not liking challenge. And kind of what sets, this video will help you understand, what is setting the dog's mind in motion when those dominoes start to tip over, and how to fix it at the core level, at the relational level. And so here I'm going to write down and show you how this kind of connects together, so you have a better understanding. Because again, once these dots connect this way relationally, it becomes a real nightmare for the dog owner, and what it does is it contaminates all interactions. It's a real problem. It's real problematic, and basically I call it relational triggers. When you look at it, it's a association. Okay, so it's what's created through that association. So what happens basically is when we talk about relational triggers, you can kind of look at it as dots connecting how a dog's mind works, so that certain situations start to represent what they become through that connection process, and it's relationally. So how you look at it is once a dog starts to gain power in the relationship, what happens is how the dog filters that information, or how they view the world, changes. It changes the context of how they interact and relate to others. So this relates to, say, other people this way. When a dog starts to interact and how they respond to people and other people's situations, will start to change as they gain power in a relationship. It's just the same way as, say, a narcissistic, selfish child wants to be around a parent where the answer is yes all the time, or they start to disengage and not want to be around other people, or a spouse where that agenda is being challenged, okay, where the word is no. So here what it is, so how you base this off of when you see how a dog responds to certain personality types. For example, this can represent people within the home environment, and this represents, say, perhaps even the owner. Okay, so the owner will become part of the problem. I mean, they're not a target of challenge per se, because they're relating to the dog in an emotional way. So what happens is the dog becomes empowered through that relationship. So they'll start to become empowered. That becomes a relational trigger. Okay, that starts to trigger the dog. The elevation levels are going to change, because that interaction, that interplay, is going to not be healthy for the dog. It's they gain power through that connection. So again, that in itself will be a trigger. And so when the dog owner, this is where how dogs will continue to connect through even an object such as a leash, okay, is an association made. You'll see how all these dots connect this way. The leash itself, becomes another dot that the dog is relationally connecting to, say, other situations. So it could be the walk itself. Okay, so the dog can, here on the walk, there could be other situations here, which all in themselves will connect, okay? And what happens here in these situations, this could be other dogs, other people, in other, say, situations or environments. So, you know, you'll see, so that's why you see what'll happen is you'll see the tail wagging when the leash comes out, and you'll think, oh, the dog's happy and, you know, excited about the walk, but what they're doing is, relationally, this is a relational trigger, they see that leash as a step or as a dot that's about to connect so they can express power through these other situations. So it's a trigger, and so it's an association that's made, and so that's why right away, you know, you're going from yourself being a trigger to the leash to, so the dog's mind jumps ahead. Okay, that's what that's why a dog goes in certain situations. That's how it happens relationally. This dogs are role driven. So just understand, you know, how a dog's mind works. It's all, the whole context will start changing as the dog starts gaining power through the relationship. Okay, this is what starts to happen. So, so even within the, you know, look at, but this is coming, say, through the owner. But then, so it always bounces back, because once that dog connects to the owner, you know, that where the owner is a part of, you know, the dog identifies the owner as having a lot of interaction, so they identify that owner as belonging within pack as a part of that, of the life of the dog. So therefore, it becomes a, you know, a pivoting point, either good or bad. So then that affects, you know, that owner, that main relationship. So if you look at, that's why I always identify when I'm doing training, who hangs out with the dog the most, who's identified as the pivoting point within the relationship, because that's going to influence everything else. And that's why, so here the walk, but then you look at, say, the other people within, say, the home environment. It could be children, another spouse, another dog. Again, this is gonna, the same thing. And this is where it goes from the dog to the owner, and then to other situations. And then you look at, say, the spouse. If the spouse is more identified through connection, through this relational connection, is more assertive. The personality type is being more that leader role. When a dog's gaining, especially when a dog's gaining a huge amount of power, you'll see them totally disengage away from that owner. They'll challenge that owner. They won't want to be around that person. And then, you know, generally it could be, you know, men in general think differently than women. And oftentimes it's men that say, well, the dog doesn't like men. Well, here it starts. Like I said, this is the process it goes through, and so the dog will start to really not disengage away. But if there's children, say, and children are more emotional, the dog will be possessive of the children, and not in a good way. That's why when you get into this whole idea about service dog training, these ideas about learning, you'll see the dogs will objectify and be with that person, but you're going to have issues because that dog isn't going to, the focus isn't going to be there relationally on in the service dog way for that, because you won't be able to get that level up, because the dog will actually own that person, you know. And then other dogs within the home environment, that dog will be empowered through that. So it goes from one to the other, and then what'll happen is that dog will, if the dog ends up interacting with that dog even more than this owner, but it all starts here, that dog will start to become empowered through that relationship as well. And again, it's going to be a very problematic. And that's why, again, from the owner to, if it's, okay, a crate, dog, again, this is relational, relationally connected. The criteria for the dog accepting that mechanism of control is going to be dependent on, again, that relationship itself, the foundation of it, whether or not that is going to be accepted or not. So, you know, as you can see here, every situation is cause and effect. Okay, there's a, when you really look at, again, I'll show this here, this is a good kind of base to go by, because here it's the same thing. It's like, again, I explained it in another video, it's like a tree, and everything branches off, behavior issues come off that, you know, tree itself, they branch off, so the tree, and then You kind of think of the psychology involved as kind of the root system, okay? But what's happening here, and I'll move this, because this is meant to give you a better insight as to how a dog's mind kind of works. But again, the tree, kind of picture the tree, and I mean, all analogies kind of break down at some level, but I want to use this as a basic analogy here for you. But when you think, that's why when you think of, when people will come and seek out help for a behavior issue, okay, say it could be, the behavior issue here could be, you know, housebreaking, or walking on the leash. What you'll find here, all the behavior issues that branch off this relational role are a symptom of a greater problem. Okay, and the root system here that goes down deep is actually represents how the owner thinks. Okay, there's a root problem, and it's grown up, and now the behavior issues that branch off it, like I said, are a symptom of the tree, the foundation not being correct. So here what it is, so when people call and say, Dale, I need help housebreaking my dog, you know, that, of course, there'll be a behavior issue that's going to get on your nerves more for different reasons and different interactions. But, so you'll be focused on, say, this issue, and that'll come to light pretty quick with a younger dog right away. The dog gain power right away. But again, it's like everything leads up to the housebreaking, start to walk in, and then you're up here into these higher behaviors, and this is what dogs will normally keep cycling through, turn into aggressive behavior. But again, you know, people are focused on a problem. I focus on, instead of focusing on the behavior, I mean, I take it back to the symptom, the causation, the cause. It's the role. The role has to be the tree. The role has to be changed out. So the foundation here, changing how the owner thinks, changing out the, you know, what we're doing here is changing out the foundation stones, okay, and we're kind of replanting a different system here, okay, and then, you know, then when you look at what the behavior issues again, it's context, so then, you know, you're not that all those behaviors are going to diminish and go away. And then how a dog thinks, it all changes. I mean, it's good, it bears good fruit. Okay? It's not rotten fruit, it bears good fruit. Because, you know, you're planting the right seed. Okay? The seed is relationally, it's taking the lead role. So here when you think of relational triggers, always try to step back and see it from the relational standpoint. Because there's things that will trigger the dog's mind. I mean, this is why, you know, when the dog gets these interplays, what happens is it always goes from the core of the relationship when it goes, you know, to the situation, okay? And this is how, again, think of relationships, how these interplays work. It bounces kind of back and forth here, but it goes from, say, the dog owner who is empowering the dog, empowering to the dog relationally, and then it goes from a different extreme to, say, a situation where authority is coming onto the dog. That person, or whatever's happening, could trigger aggression, okay? Or, for example, it goes from another situation where a dog, and this is where these relational triggers, sees another dog on the walk, okay? That's going to empower that dog's mind and cause and effect, and it's going to create a situation. So, and this is where, you know, I'll talk about the video about conditioning, but this is why conditioning, you know, when they're looking at counter conditioning, these ideas about learning theory, they're trying to create a different association. Say in this situation could be going after the mailman, okay, and change that, you say, you know, you're trying to get the dog to associate the mailman to getting a reward, a doggy treat or something. Well, you will change the context of just, I mean, this is the thing about, you know, understanding behavior at the relational level. You will, you know, you will change that. The dog will associate the mailman to getting a treat. Okay, but what happens is it doesn't change the, doesn't switch out the roles. It doesn't change anything else. It can change that perception of that one situation. But then you're going to see, you know, it going out here everywhere else. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a deep wound over it. It's not going to fix. It's not going to heal the situation. Okay, it's going to. But again, if my psychology is more permissive and emotional, I'll latch onto that, and I'll take that, and I'll try to, you know, paint in everything else and try to kind of ignore all the other issues. Well, you can really see, you test it, you put it to the test, and litmus test. That's why these dogs in these controlled situations that are going through training, we're using treats and clickers and such, you know, you hit the street with these dogs and really put it to where the rubber meets the road. I mean, often you'll see the breakdown. Okay, you'll see the truth of it all. You know, it has to be fixed at the core level. I mean, you talk about behavior. Behavior, it comes from how it branches off that tree. It's all about fixing the you know, core problem. So, but in order to do that, you have to understand the connection issue. You have to understand the relational part of the dog and human dynamic. So, hopefully that gives you some good context. But you know, when you look at, because that's what happens, the dog has the lead role, has power, it contaminates everything else. You know, nothing will be normal. Okay, and then you'll try to interpret it and say, oh, the dog's teething, doing whatever. But oftentimes it's not that at all. It's all about fixing the core of the relationship. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. Hope this provides some insight. Hope you have a great day.